The Sheikah have been surrounded by mystery ever since their first appearance in Ocarina of Time back in 1998. Since then, not much has been revealed about them over the past decade and a half. They have appeared in multiple games, most notably Skyward Sword and Ocarina of Time, but they just might play a pivotal role in Twilight Princess as well. In Twilight Princess, multiple Sheikah relics make an appearance, such as the wooden statue, Zelda's cloak, and the Howling Stones, yet the name Sheikah is never mentioned. Instead, there are multiple references to the Shadow Folk. In Ocarina of Time, a man by the name of Shikashi says, "Have you heard of the legend of the Shadow Folk? They are the Sheikah, the shadows of the Highlands." Shikashi's somewhat cryptic line could refer to the Sheikah being the servants of the royal family, or possibly a whole other meaning altogether. In every game they make an appearance in, the Sheikah have been quite mysterious, and are often associated with shadows and darkness. Yet in Twilight Princess, which just barely hints at the Sheikah, we know even less, yet the game has an overshadowing dark tone to it. We do know the Sheikah have always had a strong connection to the royal family, more specifically, Zelda herself. They help her and Link throughout multiple games. In Ocarina of Time, Impa escapes the castle with Zelda, who later disguises herself as Sheik. In Skyward Sword, Impa travels with Zelda in the past, and helps Link from her place in the present. Yet in Twilight Princess, there is no Impa or any Sheikah that helps them throughout their journey. In Twilight Princess, the Howling Stones closely resemble the Gossip Stones from Ocarina of Time. Both of them bear the symbol of the Sheikah eye. Furthermore, in Hyrule Historia, the hero's shade is said to be Link from Ocarina of Time. Link has strong connections to the Sheikah in that game, the strongest of any of his incarnations. He even has relics that belong to the Sheikah, such as the Lens of Truth and Mask of Truth. The Sheikah could have created the Howling Stones in order to help the future hero from where they are in the past. Considering all the subtle hints to the Sheikah throughout the game, what happened to him? In Twilight Princess, there is a new race that only makes an appearance in one game, the Twili. Taking into consideration the lack of Sheikah, multiple relics from them, and the mysterious new race, it is very likely that the Twili are the Sheikah. Not only does the Sheikah eye symbol make an appearance in Hyrule during the era of Twilight, it also shows up throughout various parts of the Twilight Realm, most notably on the back of the fused shadow adorning Midna's head. If the Twili are the Sheikah, this would explain how the symbol of the eye ended up in the Twilight Realm. The Sheikah may have been sent to the Twilight because of the banishment for their deeds that shamed the royal family by creating and using dark magic not for the benefit of Hyrule. Though it is not canon, Sheik explains to Link in the Ocarina of Time manga about the Sheikah banishment and the reason for the tear on the eye. Since they were unworthy, they were cast in the perpetual shadow known as the Twilight Realm, which could have distorted their image into the creatures they are in Twilight Princess. Midna's fused shadow lacks the tear that is seen in the modern symbol. Because of what Sheik says in the manga, and if the creation of the fused shadows is what led to the banishment of the Sheikah, this would explain why the eye on the fused shadow is different than the one seen throughout Hyrule. Once banished to the Twilight Realm, they evolved, similar to how the Zora people became the Rito tribe in Wind Waker. We do know that the Twili were originally from Hyrule, from what Lanayru and Midna tell Link, so being Sheikah would seem logical considering all the similarities they have. Red irises, reference to as the Shadow Folk, and the reoccurring symbol of the eye. The Twili can be considered the shadows of the Highlands, just as the Sheikah are because they are one and the same race. This leaves the question of what happened to any remaining Sheikah that either escaped banishment or weren't banished in the first place. There are a few possible candidates that may be Sheikah. The first is Impaz, the kind old woman in the hidden village just north of Kakariko Village. She shares a few similarities to Impa from Ocarina of Time, such as gray hair, she's a protector of a village, and she has a very similar name. Considering Impaz has the important role of waiting for the hero to arrive so she can pass on the Book of Sky characters to Link, this would explain her remaining in Hyrule if she is indeed a Sheikah. Another possibility is Fanati, the fortune teller in Castletown. Because the Sheikah are also the Seers of Truth, and have multiple relics in Ocarina of Time that reference this, such as the Lens of Truth and Mask of Truth, this may explain why Fanati has a tattoo of the eye on her forehead. Since she is a fortune teller, this would make sense since she sees the truth. Fanati's eyes are also red, just like the Sheikah and the Twili. The third and possibly most significant remnants of the Sheikah in Hyrule are the Sages. They each bear crests of the Sages in Ocarina of Time, and may be the same as the Sages from that game, but it is unlikely considering their appearance, and that all the Sages, with the exception of Rauru and Impa from Ocarina of Time, didn't know who they really were. This could mean that the new Sages appear every time a new incarnation of the hero is destined to save Hyrule. The Mirror of Twilight that the Sages watch over could be a creation of the Sheikah. It is never directly stated who created the mirror. The Sages could be the Sheikah who didn't betray the royal family, but instead felt obligated to protect the ones they serve by creating the mirror so that the light spirits could seal the interlopers, who could be the Sheikah that betrayed the royal family by creating the fused shadows, in the Twilight Realm. The Sheikah have always been incredibly loyal to the royal family, but in the case where some may have gone against them, this would explain the Tweely race, the mirror, and the absence of the shadow folk as we have come to know them.